We made this.
Hello and welcome back to CHUCKYVISION, the podcast that covers all things Chucky. We have covered the movies, the TV show, the first 2 seasons. We are eagerly awaiting the season 3. Before then, we always like to do these between season bonuses. Last year, we covered Chucky comics, and we had a lot of fun with that one. That was a big bumper episode, wasn't it, Mark?
It was massive. At the time, I think it was our biggest episode. I did edit it, and I'm not quite as savage an editor as you, but still, it was a massive episode. And we sat and talked about comics for like 2.5 hours, I think. I'm not sure this time will be as long because we haven't got as many comics to talk about this time.
I really do like that episode because it also went into like LGBT stories as well. The
Yes.
author for that was a really good tangent. So I advise people to go back and listen to that. There's a really good story within that history. Less story this time, but definitely some talented writers, some talented artists. I advise people, when I mention these artists, look them up. They've got some great works.
We discovered just how much there was to talk about, and we were surprised. And there is some stuff to talk about with the Devil's Due publishing as well. But like I say, there isn't as many comics. And you're right, the backstory isn't quite as interesting.
We haven't even introduced ourselves. I went straight into it. I am Dev Elson, and with me always is my host, Mark Adams.
Oh, yeah.
That's how eager we were to get straight into it.
We've been doing this for so long and we still don't know our own fucking podcast format. Go team!
We should also mention our Twitter at CHUCKYVISION. We left this up to the audience, our loyal fans. We left it up to a Twitter poll. We said,
That's true. This was the winner, wasn't it? I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, I pulled it up. I got the stats right here. We said, what do you want us to cover in August? Because we said as well, we were picking a lot of things to do. It took a while for us to think, like after season 2, for us to go, we should let the audience decide. Like, let's get them engaged a bit more.
Yeah. That being said, I did get to do Dolly Dearest, so I'm happy.
So we gave the audience a very varied range of things that we could cover. In 0 place was the, I believe, 2013 film Dolly Deadly, which I'd never heard of. Mark, I believe you had somehow snuck on there.
I want to watch Dolly Deadly. So we will be doing it at some point. Just because it got no votes doesn't mean we ain't going to do it.
We'll do all of these eventually. But somehow we'll eventually get on to the 3rd place, which was CHUCKYVISION, the BBC comedy TV show, which our title is a pun on.
Children's TV. Don't forget that it's kids' TV.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
It's completely inappropriate that we named our podcast after it. I don't feel like kids should be watching Chucky. But it made me laugh, and I am a child at heart.
Back to horror, our 2nd place, the Don Mancini written Cellar Dweller, which I believe,
fucking love that film.
Yeah, I have pointed out on the show. I've not watched it yet.
What?
I would have seen it by now, but I'm going to save it for an episode. You've done an episode on a separate podcast, Super Tap Film Club, which is on our feed, isn't it?
No, it's not, but it will be after we've done Cellar Dweller. But you can look it up if you want to. Super Tap Film Club on Spotify.
We've put a couple episodes of Super Tap Film Club on our feed, haven't we?
Yeah. Dolly Dearest.
Yes.
I love that film.
Yeah, that was a good 2nd place with 33%. Yeah, the massive winner with half of the votes, 50%, the DDP Chucky Comics. And that's not, it's me, DDP, Diamond Dallas Page.
I thought that too. I'm glad it's not just me.
This is Devil's Due Publishing. The last comics we looked at were in the 90s. Those were around back when it was just the Child's Play trilogy. These are very much in the 2007, so it's post Seed of Chucky. This is very much in the Chucky era of Chucky, which ironically, a couple years after Seed of Chucky, there was a lot of merch. We've always talked about how after those movies, only then you could buy a Chucky doll. There was definitely a lot more merch and stuff, so Chucky was very popular. Case in point, we're getting comics of Chucky. At the same time, this was kind of, the point where a lot of people were like, is Chucky over then? Are we ever going to get a film after Seed of Chucky?
Well, Seed of Chucky was a wonderful film, and according to our lovely friend Fletch, it is the best one. It flopped. Let's be blunt, it was a hideous flop. It's culty these days, but it was a massive flop at the time.
Comparing it to the other comics, those were written during the fame. Those were written between Child's Play 2 and 3, and 3 went into production immediately after 2. So those were very much like alongside the movies, as promotional, like getting in on that. Whereas here, we've got 2 comics. We're going to cover 2. We were going to cover one line, but because it's quite short, it was going to be 5 issues, but 1 issue doesn't exist. No one can find it. I mean, you can buy it. It's not available in other ways. It's kind of a hard one to get to. It only left us with 1 volume, 4 issues. And then they did some interesting things. There was a Chucky crossover with another comic under Devil's Due Publishing.
And I did try and get these comics legitimately. I emailed Devil's Due. We're a podcast. If you've got electronic versions, it would be amazing if you could send them over for us, and we'll give you a shout out. And, they were polite enough to reply. They don't have them anymore. These comics are so old that they don't have them anywhere anymore. They couldn't reprint them even if they wanted to.
And that totally makes sense on their side. It's an old brand. Chucky's still going. But, I mean, for them having the rights decades ago, you can see in the comic, they say thanks to, like, Rogue Pictures and stuff. So, obviously, very old deals here. And we've seen it before with what Don Mancini owns. They can't use Child's Play and stuff. So, I imagine they do thank Universal, probably. I'm going to say it's Universal. That are just like, we can't be bothered to reprint these comics.
Well, but that was the thing. We did try and get them legitimately. To get them on eBay, they're incredibly expensive. And obviously, that money isn't going to the original copyright holders or the people that made them or the artists that created it. So we did use a hooky website, let's be blunt.
Honestly, if you just Google the comics, you'll just find it. And then you'll also see that, 5th issue is nowhere to be found.
It was volume 2, issue 1, wasn't it? It was supposed to be an ongoing series and there was only 1 of it. I couldn't see why. Did you find out why it was cancelled halfway through a run?
I've got a little history of Devil's Due Publishing, and there was a quote-unquote collapse at some point.
Oh.
They may have just lost the rights to this at that time.
But they're still going, though.
Oh, yeah. They're digital only now.
I did have a look at stuff that they've done in the past. They've done Micronauts and Vampire Hunter D, and Hack Slash was a big one for them, which we're going to be looking at. But at the moment, their biggest titles seem to be Mercy Sparks' Ark World, and bizarrely, the comic adaptation of the Trailer Park Boys. So they're still going, which is very, very different to Innovation Comics that definitely are not.
Sort of similar stories, markets change, industries move on. Some companies, they just get folded in, don't they? They just sort of disappear. But I'll just get into the history now with DDP. Yeah, they are an independent comic book publisher based in Chicago. They did a wide selection of genres, but a lot of them tend to be horror. I think that the owners definitely seem to like their horror. They do a good mix of original creator-owned properties, but also a lot of licensed comics, probably to keep the lights on. But also, again, these people seem to really enjoy horror, so they tend to, pick up horror IPs. Some of the licensed titles they've done alongside Chucky, they did Army of Darkness, they've done G.I. Joe, Family Guy, The Toxic Avenger, Voltron, and they did a few Halloween comics as well. Similar to this Chucky one, like limited edition, like 4-issue Halloween stories.
It does strike me that now should be the time for more Chucky comics.
Yeah.
Why has no one acquired a deal to make some Chucky comics? I would eat them up, and I don't have a pull at the moment, but I would absolutely get a pull back and have Chucky on my pull. We could cover it on this podcast as well, but no one's done it, and they should.
Like Innovation, I believe we said some stats about how popular Innovation was. I think they... Almost this very similar thing. I think Innovation said at one point they were like the 4th most successful comic book company in America. And similar to this, the company soon shifted its focus to comic books, becoming one of the top 10 publishers in North America. And then when I clicked on the citation for that, the website was a 404 error. So
Right, okay,
I don't know
good.
if they're still up there.
I think it was bold by Innovation suggesting that they were bigger than Dark Horse, because I'm guessing the top three were Image, DC, and Marvel. Beyond those three, there's probably Dark Horse in fourth, and then everything is in flux, isn't it? Who's the biggest at the time?
To get into the more modern history that we were alluding to before, Devil's Due restructured itself in 2008, including changes in editors, marketing managers, a new CEO, complete revamp, because in 2009, Devil's Due was accused of not paying several creative teams. Obviously, it seems like they were having money issues. And I believe I do have an interview quote about that. In an article on the website Bleeding Cool, it was reported that the writer of Hackslash, Tim Seeley, had gone completely unpaid and he was unable to pay his artists, which
Oh, shit, that's not great.
Yeah, got a quote here. The company is finding recent success with Jericho, Spartacus, and Hackslash with delayed payments only on the latter book. This has had the knock-on effect that Hackslash creator Tim Seeley is owed thousands, and despite offers, feels unable to move his serial killer revenge book to another publisher for fear of losing any chance of getting that money back. Equally, if Hackslash left Devil's Due, that company could completely collapse, and Seeley would be condemning a publisher that he's been a part of for so long. So yeah, kind of a catch-22 in that situation.
That's fucking grim.
I believe that quote was made in 2009, and then in 2010, it was announced at Emerald City Comic Con that Tim Seeley was taking Hackslash from Devil's Due publication to Image Comics. So he did, in fact, get the fuck out there.
It was a tough decision. You're an artist, you got to get paid. I think he made the right decision.
All of the old comics under Devil's Due, they have been republished under Image now. So everything Hackslash from beginning to end is under Image now.
Right.
We're going to go straight into Hackslash versus Chucky, because that one did come out first. The opening of issue 1 does take place not immediately after Seed of Chucky, but it very clearly does follow on that continuity.
But this can't be canon, right? This can't be.
I don't know. It still kind of works, right? I mean, the heart of Damballa never really comes back. We don't exactly see how he comes back in Curse of Chucky.
True. The first thing that struck me about this was that it's Hackslash versus Chucky. The problem with Hackslash versus Chucky is this one-shot comic is not going to kill off Hackslash and is not going to kill off any of the Hackslash characters and is not going to kill off Chucky. And it removes some of the peril for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Maybe that's kind of the same with a lot of characters, you know, because I always compare Hackslash a bit to Buffy. And it's like, the protagonist is never going to die, are they? If they're that cool.
I hadn't read any Hackslash, but I think your comparison to Buffy is quite close, actually. I did like the comic, actually. I liked the characters that Hackslash brought. It's a shame I didn't know who the fuck it was that was sewing Chucky back together at the start.
Yeah, it definitely does jump straight into it. I had to remind myself as well whether or not this was part of an ongoing series. You can buy like a Batman graphic novel, which is like a storyline. So I couldn't remember if that was this. Hackslash has had ongoing series, but a lot of her life is in like one-off specials and stuff. It was always something that Tim Seeley was doing, like just a one-off special every now and again.
Yeah.
And it was always successful. So he always just kept doing it. It does say at the very top, a little introduction to the both worlds. The Chucky one is pretty much the same in his solo series. Chucky is a notorious murderous doll that sprung to life after it was possessed by means of voodoo magic by serial killer Charles Lee Ray, the Lakeshore Strangler. We already knew that because CHUCKYVISION. But you didn't know who Hackslash was? Cassie Hack is the lone survivor of an attack by a slasher called the Lunch Lady, a slasher that happens to be her mother. Now she travels the world with her monstrous partner Vlad, hunting down and destroying slashers wherever she finds them.
So was the lady at the start, was that the Lunch Lady?
No.
Oh, so who's that? Is that an ongoing villain?
No, the Lunch Lady was, I don't believe it was like the first issue story. That's just like her backstory. That's like canonically the first slasher that she ever fought. Yeah, we're going to get into the character of Laura Locks, the actual antagonist in this comic. But she does have a backstory. She is an existing character in this world. But aside from that, I mean, it does start immediately with this character. Aside from maybe jumping into that, I guess, did you understand I don't know, like the relationship between Cassie and Vlad? Did you pick up the basics?
Felt like a buddy movie to me.
Did you like the characters? Did you think it had potential?
I liked Vlad a lot more than I liked Hackslash, but that's an inevitability. You've already compared this to Buffy. Buffy's strength was the cool characters around the bland one. Hackslash is taking the bland role, and cool characters are around them. The girl leader, very Buffy, and the reformed bad guy, very Spike. I liked the dynamic. I thought it was really fun. I thought it really worked, but Vlad was much more interesting than Hackslash, I thought.
We will get into all the potential adaptations. I always imagined it would be a good TV show. Buffy, but done by the guys who do The Boys.
Yes.
Like, a lot more violent, a lot more humor and stuff, a lot more hard edge. Because she's a very hard edge character. She's a bit like Jessica Jones, if you ever saw that Netflix Marvel series.
I loved it.
Well, Vlad is basically Jason if he was a good guy. If he was actually a nice, sweet boy. But he was, a hulking brute with a mask.
Even though I didn't know who she was, I liked the baddie as well. I liked how they looked into the background of not just a cackling villain, but someone who has quite unpleasant problems in their life, and then that got dropped onto poor Vlad. Do you know, I hadn't thought about it. You're absolutely right. It hasn't been covered how Chucky came back. Between Seed of Chucky and Curse of Chucky. Yeah, why couldn't it have been Laura that brought him back from the dead?
By far, not the first or last crossover Hackslash has done.
No, I did see that that's happened a lot.
I've got a list here, and this is all one cinematic universe, according to Hackslash. So she's crossed over with Chucky. She's crossed over with an original comic Nailbiter, which is really good. She's crossed over with Reanimator. She's crossed over with an original DDP comic Evil Ernie. Another one, Chaos. A whole bunch of demonic characters in that. She's crossed over with The Crow.
The Crow?
Yeah.
Good.
Army of Darkness. So Cassie and Ash have teamed up for.
Good.
And so more characters. Bomb Queen, Eva. She crossed over with that Mercy Sparks. Crossed over with a guy called Halloween Man. Crossed over with Hatchet. I don't know if you've seen those late 2000s slasher movies. She crossed over with Vampirella.
Vampirella.
Most surprisingly, she crossed over with the Suicide Girls. As in the website Suicide Girls.
Okay, good.
On their website, she is a model on Suicide Girls.
Brilliant.
So yeah, that's one big universe now that you've got to consider alongside Chucky, if it's all canon.
Yeah, that is a bit fucked up. I liked that they had 3 covers as well. I mean, obviously it is a cheap-ass way of making money. I've always thought that comics doing that I think that's actually kind of okay. People are collectors. I don't think it's wrong doing that. But they had one that looked really, really kind of comic book style, one that looked like super serious, and one that was kind of almost like kids' cartoony drawings. So the variation was really cool.
By far, as far as the Hackslash goes, none of these are overtly sexual.
No.
You will get that in Hackslash. Hackslash, I guess, is feminist because she's a take no shit badass. But the artists, they really enjoy drawing Cassie Hack in a revealing attire.
Yeah. She doesn't have any powers, does she?
No. As far as I understand, she's not like Buffy in that she's a slayer. She is just a badass. I've always read it. It's never been confirmed. I mean, the comics are really never that deep. They're on par with this for most of it. Right. But I've always kind of read it that she is maybe a slasher herself, and that's why she's so good.
Right.
As I say, not much characterization to these people, but there is some. Right now, we're introduced to a character you didn't understand. We won't even get to know who Laura is until a few pages in. This is very much the aftermath of Seed of Chucky. It's set in Hollywood, and it's the remains of Chucky, very much arms chopped off, like how Glenn did at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Before, though, there is the epilogue of Seed of Chucky, where Chucky sends his little arm out to kill human Glenn or Glenda. So
yeah,
this is set during Seed of Chucky, technically, if you count that.
I suppose so, yeah.
We get very quick intros to Cassie and Vlad. It's one of those comic tropes where the characters on the first page just happen to call each other by name. And then explain who they are. A recap on who the villain is, Laura. It does the little comic box in the corner, See Girls Gone Dead. That was an early story arc of Hackslash. I remember that character. She's a pretty good one. She was like a goody two-shoes Catholic schoolgirl. She could do the kind of voodoo zombie thing back then, and she turns her dad, who is the town priest, into a slasher. And they go to not Mardi Gras, one of those summer beach events, like the wet t-shirt contests and stuff. Big summer parties, and kill a bunch of half-naked women and stuff. And then at the end of that, Cassie sets her on fire. And we presume she's dead, but then she comes back.
I mean, it is a slasher.
They do tend to come back. We got a good example of some good twisted violence in this. A guy's face gets stitched onto a football.
Oh, I loved that. I absolutely loved that. That's proper horror yuckness. That would be something that would look great in a film. Making a ball out of a human face and then using it. That's revolting.
Yeah, and the guy's still alive. Technically, he's a zombie. But I mean, it's like voodoo zombies, so...
True.
It gets tied straight into the Chucky lore as well. We got the Heart of Nobala, fresh off the movies.
I thought it was a really nice usage of the kind of Chucky voodoo stuff as well. Yeah, it works.
It's established in those movies that there's a lot of body switching, much like Chucky. Laura is in a body that is causing her a lot of pain. She needs to get back into a normal human body. And yes, it's the same thing. These stories do connect together really well.
One thing I didn't think it needed was constant fucking Batman references. I didn't understand why they would do that. I just feel like almost undermines your own art by referring to more mainstream art. Maybe one Batman reference, but 3.
Yeah, there are a few. Maybe that's because Tim Seeley is also a prolific DC writer as well.
Oh, okay.
A few Batman runs, Suicide Squad, done Nightwing and Grayson, which, if you know comics, is also Nightwing.
Yeah.
He's done a few Batman-related stories. Yeah, you get a little action scene where they get trapped by the zombies. They do the spell Vlad. I wondered this, because you said you did like Vlad. We only get to know Vlad for like a page, and then suddenly Vlad is now the bad guy. There was a very quick body switch there. I also like how I wrote no need for introductions, but they do, of course, introduce each other. Cassie and Chucky actually already know each other, and that makes sense because Cassie hunts slashers, and Chucky is a prolific slasher.
Tends to be when you have a comic book crossover, the moment they meet, they fight. And I liked that they kind of booked the trend and didn't have them have a miscommunication fight. And I get that you want to see the two people in the crossover fight.
Yeah, well, it does show there's a lot of smart comic writing in this. We do get those fights, but they're contextualized in a much better way than, those arbitrary fights. By the title itself, it's a versus comic. But here's the twist. They have to work alongside each other. Chucky's like, you're not going to get Vlad back unless I help out. Because Cassie's just ready to kill him straight away.
Yeah.
It really works because especially off the 2 Chucky movies we've just had, we really love Chucky being front and center and getting that banter. And we get that here, don't we? It's a better excuse instead of... We see in the his standalone comic, there's a lot of him hiding in bushes and just kind of talking to himself. It makes more sense in this that he gets someone to actually play off. Speaking of fights, we do get a fight very quickly. They have to do a little pit stop because Vlad realizes Laura is basically dying, so they need some whiskey and aspirin to help him get by. Chucky is like, yeah, I'll go get those right after I kill this petrol attendant.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it makes sense. Chucky loves killing. He has no qualms about it. Get a quick kill in here while they're at it. Cassie has to fight him with that. And it's a good little fight.
Yeah, I thought so. I feel like this comic almost sets a similar tone to what we see in later Chucky, where whilst Chucky is still an irredeemable, hateful, serial-killing piece of shit, he's also a protagonist and, in a weird way, avenges. He kills baddies as well. Yeah, it fits really nicely with how Chucky became after Seed of Chucky as well.
It's a good rapport. They repeatedly say throughout, once we're done, we're going to kill each other.
Yeah.
So they're not going to become friends. It's not a buddy comedy. We get some more Child's Play lore here. Before Laura left, she did give them a clue, for some reason, to her voodoo connections for Papa Sugar, which just coincidentally happens to be John Bishop's brother.
Yeah, so I did really enjoy this comic, but it did feel like, for 2007, voodoo should have been a bit more sensitively done, and it felt very simplistic. Papa Sugar, I don't know. I was kind of sad that he was bad, because John Bishop was really quite forward-thinking. thinking, in as much as he was a good person. And that cutscene that we know about where he used his voodoo for healing, it's a comic and they have limited amount of time and pages, etc. But
yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's a one-off, so time constraints are a big factor of trying to get information across very quickly. I do think they were trying to do stuff here because he says, even though he's bullshitting later, he does say it's a religion of healing and love. You know, he's clearly playing up his whole Papa Sugar thing for tourists. He has a business and he's selling this as bullshit, really. He acknowledges that there is real voodoo and then like mainstream voodoo that everyone thinks it is.
And his death was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, he becomes like a weird little tertiary antagonist here because I'm trying to think exactly what the point of this thing was, because I think he says in the dialogue that Laura said just make them go on their way. So it wasn't a trap, but then Papa Sugar turns it into a trap. It's a matter of the speed of the comic and also, I guess, the tone of the comic, that he is kind of let's face it, he was going to be a rapist.
Yeah.
He drugs Cassie. There's a moment where she becomes a victim rather than the badass that she usually is. But then that leads into the cool death. We get a nice play on Bishop's death, where Chucky does try a voodoo doll, but it doesn't work.
Yes.
So then he does the next best thing, which is he just shoots nails into Papa Sugar.
I mean, it worked. And it was a nice graphic image, which horror comics need. They need to be gory.
Oh yeah, very, very gory. And yeah, nice little moment for Chucky, because technically I guess he has to. In the moment, it's surprising, because Chucky is kind of a good guy here.
Yeah, like I said, he becomes the Avenger that we've seen him become in the future.
So yeah, he does bring Cassie back, and the two are back on the road together. When we were steamrolling through the story, as I say, they label it as a bonus issue.
It was a 48-page one-shot special, wasn't it?
And with a lot of action that moves at a click. So you get through it quite quickly. Laura does have this grand scheme. We've gone over to her side of the story every now and again, and we've seen her kidnap characters, which I can't remember these characters, as inferred from the dialogue. I do believe these are characters from previous issues that Cassie has saved. She has kidnapped these people, and she has built this hell house to quote-unquote face many of the evils of this world. Abortion, homosexuality, and denial of Christ's love.
Wow.
This was a bit of a turn in the comic. Were you expecting this?
No.
Hard satire.
Yeah.
Early 2000s blunt satire. Pretty much we're in the final act, so it's all action now. It's all mixed in with more of that edgy humor. Chucky reminds us all that he's a bad guy. He does call Vlad a trans something. It gets cut off.
Yeah.
The character of Scotty is getting whipped by these voodoo zombies in devil costumes, telling him to repent about homosexuality and stuff, and he replies, "I'm not even fucking gay." We only get inference at the end that the woman is a doctor. So I presume maybe she performed abortions, and that's why she is in her form of torture. I don't know why Scotty is being punished for being gay if he's not gay. Because it's the whole thing with Laura, really. She reports herself to be a good Christian girl, but she's a very bad person.
It's definitely interesting. There's a line here that I really liked as well when, people say in the flesh, and Chucky referred to himself as being in the plastic. I liked that. That made me smile.
The last guy as well, getting sacrificed by Satanists. Is he a Satanist? I guess he's maybe just, I don't know, agnostic or something. He's not Christian enough.
Well,
makes him a Satanist.
For some people, anyone who isn't Christian enough, you know?
But a lot of these zombies get dealt with very quickly. People's heads getting shotgunned opened. Head got chopped off. You can see the brain. Chucky jumped on a guy and knifed him in the chest and then gutted him down. His intestines fell out. Lots of good, colourful violence. They pretty much save everyone in a couple pages.
True.
And then it immediately gets to the big brawl between Cassie and Laura. Except, of course, as we know, Laura is in Vlad's body. So it's two friends having to fight each other. Cleverly, again, for the writing, it plays into it. Laura acknowledges that Cassie isn't fighting full power because she doesn't want to hurt a friend.
Yeah, it's nice.
Chucky comes in, fights him a bit. We get a good payoff. I double-checked on this one. I just figured they sprayed him with mace or something. But no, that's actually a good setup and payoff of the paralysis thing that Papa Sugar used earlier.
Yes.
So that whole scene wasn't totally pointless. It gave them something to use against the big bad. Chucky does his Dombala, much like the TV show. He gets his very quick version of the Dombala spell out. And just like that, everything is back to normal. Everyone's in the right bodies again.
I think it shows the skill level, because Chucky is depicted as having high skill level with voodoo.
The incantation, Laura says, is really long. Like, she says all of it. But yeah, speaking of these incantations, Chucky has plans. This is what he's been waiting for this whole time. He's not a good guy. He's actually just going to take Vlad's body himself.
Yeah, it's a nice touch.
Unfortunately, though, Laura, back in her body, tries to kill him for ruining all her plans. I mean, she took out Chucky the first time, if she brought him to life and then imprisoned him. Doesn't work out so well in the rematch because she falls like 3 stories and destroys her spine.
Yeah, that was...
And Chucky survives. Just when you think, oh, she's still moving, she can make it, then her own voodoo zombies swarm in and tear her apart. Good luck coming back from that.
I was pleased we did get a fight at the end between Hackslash and Chucky. Then I wasn't so pleased that it ended with a crocodile.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. So we get this big fight, and it seems like the end of like a movie. It's the end of the story. Cool epilogue where it reminds me of Halloween H2O when Laurie Strode thinks she defeats Michael. You see Michael lying on the stretcher, and they put him in the body bag. And then Laurie's like, no, fuck that. I need to make sure he's dead. And she steals the ambulance, and you get that little real conclusion there. In this one, we get the same thing. Chucky runs away, and it's like, oh, well, we'll see Chucky another day. And Cassie's like, no, fuck that. Like, I know I just almost died. I'm still going after Chucky. And she does. She goes straight after him, and they end up in the swamps. More payoff because the swamps were very tangentially mentioned earlier.
Yeah, true.
There's a really good action shot here of Chucky just eating that baseball bat.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool bit where he goes into the water. He does like a da-da-da-da, and I assume it's the Jaws theme because he's putting his little knife up through the water. Get a little mention of Freddy, Jason, Michael. They got nothing on me. But I don't know if those guys are canon in this world as well. For both of these ones, because they've been teased in Bride of Chucky.
True.
However big his boasts are, doesn't last long because then Chucky gets eaten by an alligator, which is weirdly not the first time something similar to that has happened, because in one of the Innovation comics he gets eaten by a shark, but not even a real shark.
That's true.
Again, though, that is not the ending. That's like the second ending. It's like Lord of the Rings. They really made use of those 48 pages because the story ended at like page 40. And they're like, no, we got more story to tell. We got a little bit of a denouement of the survivors chilling out, very clearly playing the Wii. Vlad looks so happy. He's got his mask off. Were you happy to see that? He just has a lovely smile.
Yeah, that wasn't what I expected, I'll be honest.
I think he's been drawn in close-up quite a bit uglier, similar to Jason, but that drawing of him, he looks very happy. The woman, she's patching up Cassie. I like those details. The final girl actually getting treated.
Yeah.
She's not a total badass. She does get, I think she got stabbed by Laura Vlad several times. She's still human, as you asked. We do get, I thought this crossover was being very chaste, but we get some very semi-gratuitous TNA here.
Yes.
But at the same time, though, she's still a badass because she's like, nope, I'm going out there a second time. I'm going to make sure Chucky's dead, which is something nobody else does ever in a slasher, really. I mean, they should really do it in a Chucky film, especially, because Chucky always comes back. He fucking says every time, I always come back. So they need to make sure he's dead. Most slashers in general, they always the guy's just lying there. The main character walks away, and then the guy gets up. I like that Cassie is like, no. I'm going to get that body, and I'm going to completely destroy him. But she doesn't have time. We get Bill, by the greatest character, just introduced in the last page. Bill Bergerton, the Gator Raider. This big bald guy who wants his own TV show. He finds a gator. The gator turns out to be dead because something has slashed open the gator's stomach. And, of course, it's Chucky. He always does come back.
Indeed. I liked that scene. I thought it worked really, really well. It does set up for the 4 comics we're going to be looking at next as well.
I want to give you on a little tangent here with Hackslash. In the comic, on the very last page, we get a big one-shot splash page of Cassie Hack with her pants out, promoting the ongoing series of Hackslash, as well as, quote-unquote, slated to be a major motion picture from Rogue Pictures. This comic came out in 2007. Do you remember the Hackslash movie?
I don't think there was a Hackslash movie, was there?
This movie has been in development hell. Tim Seeley was going to participate in the production of the feature film. It was due to be produced by Rogue Pictures and released by Universal in 2009. There was a history of news updates. Todd Lincoln was the first director attached, who had never done a feature before, but then he went on to do The Apparition in 2012 and a segment on VHS Viral, so he went on to do some horror films. The writer was Justin Marks, who had only just done Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li in 2009. Do you remember that film?
No.
Not very good.
Right, okay, good.
So we're starting great here in terms of writers, but then again, maybe he should have done Hack Slash, because years later he kept going, and he eventually did The Jungle Book and Top Gun Maverick.
Really?
He won an Oscar, Best Screenplay Adaptation for Top Gun.
That's good. I'm glad for him.
But then he never did Hack Slash.
No.
Later, we had the second director attached was Frederick Bond, who has so far now only done one feature called Charlie Countryman in 2013. I do remember that film. It had quite a few people in it. The main guy in that was Shia LaBeouf. I did notice from a news article I was looking at for this, I saw at the time in 2009, The Swede is attached to shepherd Universal's remake of The Host, which was the Korean horror from like 2006.
Yeah, I remember that. It was good.
He was also set to redo Warner Brothers' The Hunger. He was going to remake that film as well.
Oh, okay. So like a remix master.
Yeah, none of those happened. The third director attached was Marcus Nispel, and he was going to do it in 2012. He did the remakes of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Friday the 13th. Those are pretty good, aren't they?
They were okay.
He could have done Hack Slash pretty well.
Yeah, true. Do you think we'll ever see Hack Slash?
Well, in October 2015, Relatively announced that the comic would be adapted into a television series instead, and would be written and produced by Skip Woods. He had done the Hitman movie, Die Hard 5, X-Men Origins Wolverine. He did the second Hitman movie, so they were all movies, weren't they? He had never done a TV show, though, and I guess he never did, because that TV show never happened. As for Cassie Hack herself, the character, from the earliest mentions of the film happening around this time, apparently a source tells ShockTillYouDrop.com that Transformers star Megan Fox is incredibly interested in the role of Hack. I couldn't find anything else. The Shock Till You Drop, every website links to that, and that is a dead link. I can't find any quote of Megan Fox actually wanting to be in Hack Slash. But that's what everybody says. Megan Fox was going to be Cassie Hack.
Huh.
And then randomly I found in an MTV interview, Kat Dennings said she'd also really like to do Cassie Hack. That would have been fun.
I think I would like to see a Hack Slash film, but it doesn't look like it's happening.
No, and especially since I believe the last Hack Slash comic that Tim Seeley has done was 2017. It's not like he wrote an ending. It's not like the character is dead. I don't see the likelihood of them making a Hack Slash movie if there's no existing comic at the same time.
No, you're right.
But that was Hack Slash versus Chucky. Now we've got a whole comic that is all Chucky all the time, and this is just called Chucky Volume 1.
And I had a look at the writer for this. It's a chap called Brian Pulido. And he was the president of Chaos Comics that merged with DDP Comics. So I think he had like a guaranteed job. Maybe he just fucking likes Chucky. I think it's cool that someone who's got quite a position within the comic book company that's publishing it is the one that wanted to do, though.
But you were saying he's written some really interesting licensed work.
He's done some really good stuff, or at least weird stuff. He's written WWE comics, Insane Clown Posse comics, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween and Friday the 13th comics. And he's also had runs with Marvel and Dark Horse, so he's a hell of a writer, really. Quite a big name. So again, like before, with the Innovation comics, they were taking it seriously.
Apparently he did a Megadeth comic, I guess based on the album art. That sounds cool.
Okay, good. Good.
I want to say these are all Chaos Comics that came with it, but he definitely filled out the roster of DDP here, because he did Lady Death, Evil Unny, Purgatory, Chastity, Smiley the Psychotic Button, Cremator, Bad Kitty, Jade, Lady Demon, Bedlam, and The Undead. So he had a lot of titles. I assume these were all short titles. He wasn't writing ongoing comics all at the same time. But I have read some of these. Evil Unny, Smiley the Psychotic Button. Those are really fun comics. Those are like, if you've ever read the Mask comics. Extremely over-the-top violence and action and stuff. It definitely translates to this comic, to the Chucky one. It's very violent, very fast-paced, a lot of fun.
Agree. I really enjoyed this run. This little storyline was great, and it brought back characters that I've talked about wanting to see more of in the past as well. Jesse and Jade have got more of a story to tell. I think this does it really, really well, actually.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Yeah, we have talked about on this podcast. Chucky the TV show has a fondness for bringing back old actors now, people that Dom Mancini really liked working with. We always talked about whether or not Jesse and Jade would come back, and they do get a little follow-up in this one. They are the main characters again. I kept thinking this was a direct follow-up to Bride of Chucky, but of course it comes after Seed of Chucky and Hackslash vs. Chucky. I was trying to think, why back to Bride of Chucky? And I was like, oh wait, no one survived Seed of Chucky.
Everybody's dead.
But still, interesting. I guess maybe it was that Universal thing, how it became Chucky and not Child's Play. Would they have wanted to do Andy, but then they were like, oh, we can only do these 2 movies. So I guess the only people alive are Jesse and Jade.
Yeah, and they are definitely a loose end. I've said how much I liked it. My first impression was not good.
No? Why is that?
And I mean, I sent you a screenshot of this so you know what's coming. I don't feel like the front cover should have a spelling mistake on it.
Oh, yeah.
There is no such word as sprunk. S-P-R-U-N-K. The only thing that I could find that the word sprunk was, it was created for GTA, and it's a drink that mocks Sprite by making it sound like spunk. Ejaculate. Yeah. There is no such word. Chucky sprunk to life. And they do correct it from issue 2 onwards. But in issue 1, sprunk.
You said not off to a good start. We're not actually into the story yet. This is the credits page.
The proofreader read the word sprunk and didn't spot it and okayed it, and it went to print.
It plays fast and loose. It's a very fast comic, this.
It is.
I imagine they will publish just as fast.
Yeah.
Unlike the Hackslash vs. Chucky, we don't get any kind of lead-on or origin story or anything like that here. We get just a start to this story. It's a very old-school vibe with the classic campfire horror story, very Friday the 13th here. We get all the partying teenagers telling spooky stories. It's a good way to get the Chucky backstory out. It's not something that really happens, is it, in Chucky films? A lot of the time, it's them. It's either like one character mentioning the backstory or them reading old newspapers and stuff. Much like the campfire thing itself, we get all the teen slasher tropes here. The woman chugging beer down a tube. We got 2 trope lesbians. We get weirdly a Seinfeld reference, when the guy comes out of the water. Don't laugh at my dick. You can't pull the Costanza joke. Yeah, that's from season 5. That was episode came out in 1994. I thought as well, I was like, Bride of Chucky, I was like 1998, so like maybe a topical reference, but then wait, no, hang on, this is set in 2007.
Yeah.
That's kind of an old joke for teenagers.
One thing I liked was that Chucky actually strangled someone.
Yeah. We get a strangulation and we get a fuck ton of deaths in here.
We get a big ass body count, you're right.
Immediately. So they introduce these characters. We only get 1 or 2 names, not everyone is named. And you can tell that does not bode well for them. I like some of the detail in the arc, though, trying to tell all these little stories really quickly. So, like, when they're telling the story of Chucky and stuff, you can see, like, the 2 lesbians, like, look at each other, get up and walk away and stuff. It's all being done at the same time. Cohesive storytelling. It doesn't last long because they immediately get decapitated at the same time. I will say there's a bit of dialogue here. The Lakeshore Strangler was like Zodiac. He came, he killed, he disappeared. No, he didn't. He got shot by police.
Yeah.
We all know what happened to Charles Lee Ray. He was literally buried. They went to his grave.
One thing I will say is that is a problem. But I really liked the detail they went into with the trauma for Jesse and Jade. They broke up because of what happened, and they got back together. And the trauma's lasted all that time. It's 10 years ago, both in real time and in the comic book time. And they're still completely fucking traumatized with ruined lives because of what they went through with Chucky. And I think that's really, really good.
Definitely acknowledges, in a way, the near enough 10 years since Bride of Chucky. Yeah, it's funny how it really comes up onto these characters, because we've been talking about Jesse and Jade. There's another character from Bride of Chucky that makes a return. So after Chucky kills 9 teenagers at this campfire in a manner of like 3 pages, he fucking massacres all of them and then buries them for some reason. Not sure why he buries them, but conveniently, as he's saying, okay, I'm bored, what's next? A newspaper hits him in the face. And on that one page of the newspaper happens to be a character from Bride of Chucky that he has been wanting to kill for some time. This character is the cop who shows up at the end of Bride of Chucky.
And gets bitten by
who,
Glenn.
Presumably, from the shock ending of that movie, we all assumed was dead.
I mean, I think his face seems pretty realistic. He was foolish enough to say, I got attacked by a doll baby. And so he has been ridiculed and demoted and become a laughingstock. I think that's really nicely done as well. It's realistic. I think it's good. Yeah, I like that he survived.
To make use of that
one cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun, deep cut that I really like. Preston's actually quite a likeable character in the whole run of these comics, actually.
Yeah, he goes from, maybe he has a name in the credits of the movie, but he is just a random guy at the end of the movie. Well, he's not at the end, because he does appear throughout the movie, doesn't he? Maybe he was named. He is the cop who's in charge on the manhunt for them. Barry Preston. He has a wife, Shauna. He's got much more backstory than Jesse and Jade do at this point. He's very much the main character of issue 1, which does serve well for issue 2. It's been 10 years. He's retiring. They get him a gift, which is a good guy doll, as we've seen in the TV show. It's never good when someone gets a good guy doll packaged up. But then it's not even really a red herring because he just throws it in the trash.
Yeah.
Which maybe at that point, are they expensive now? Is that a vintage item?
That's true. Tiffany would have wanted that.
But obviously, he is appropriately pissed off, so he just throws it away.
Yeah.
Again, I forgot at this point that Jesse and Jade were recurring characters, so I thought it was so strange that 10 years later, they only knew this guy for like 5 minutes, and 10 years later, Jesse's here to congratulate him on his retirement. But then I guess he did vouch for them. They were wanted for several murders, and he vouched for them, but a doll did it instead.
And he saved them as well.
Yeah, it's not really explained why. I mean, I guess that would really be difficult for the writer to do, but it's not really explained how he makes them innocent, because his excuse is a doll did it. I don't know why the police wouldn't just say, you're crazy, we're still going to go after these people. Just a real flurry of details here, and just a couple panels with Jesse and Jade. They mentioned going to White Castle. Suddenly they're at the build depot for some DIY stuff. Then Jade is in the next panel asking Jesse if he wants to stay the night. It's fast-paced exposition. They are, the main characters, so we get a lot more time to get to know them in slower scenes than this.
I think Jesse and Jade were the right choice. And this storyline really, really worked for me. I wasn't sure these were going to be good, but they were. I really did enjoy the 5 issues that we got to read, including the Hack Slash one. But I think I preferred these to Hack Slash because I just wanted Chucky, and I've always wanted more Jesse and Jade.
And we do get some Chucky now. We're going to get into a proper Chucky stalk and slash scene here. We're still with Barry Preston in his 3-story mansion. Did you really acknowledge the art there? I almost moved past it, but in the establishing shot of their house, it's fucking huge.
Yeah, his wife must earn.
We get some back and forth between them. They have a dog. Dog doesn't last long. Dog's dead. a visceral kill. Then Chucky off screen calls Preston a dick smell. So, like the comparison to Hack Slash versus Chucky, he's already there and he's in a conversation. Whereas this is a bit more like the old Chucky's, where he's off screen, he's scurrying about, he's yelling things out, and the main character doesn't know where he is. So it feels, like the movies here.
Yeah, you're right.
Backstory, we have to accept his wife just 100% believes him that Chucky is here. And she's like, all right, I'll go get the 2 AKs and the flamethrower that you have in your closet. We'll take the story that we've got and not harp on the story that we don't get, but like dialogue, like, you've got a special place in my heart, Barry. But we didn't know this guy. Why does Chucky know this guy so well?
No, I suppose that's true.
Like the newspaper, he recognized that guy. It's been 10 years. It's like Nika in Curse of Chucky. It's a character we've never met before, but the backstory is sort of retconned in. So I guess in these 10 years, whenever Chucky's been alive, he's always been like, you know what, one day I'm going to get around to Barry Preston and I'm going to get around to Nika. And he finally got around to Barry here.
Yeah, it's interesting that, this is moving on to issue 2 actually, but Chucky's actually quite good and fast and doesn't fail like he has done with Andy in the past.
Yeah.
It does touch on a similar storyline that they will go into with Andy later on. I do like it.
Yeah, this is not a point where Chucky's getting taken out by 14-year-olds. Preston has a shotgun. Shauna comes out decked like Arnie in Commando. She has like bandolier bullet like across her chest, and she's like in a bulletproof vest with like a AK-47. Somehow great artwork. Somehow she's standing completely straight up. We can still see under her skirt. Which I guess maybe prompts... no, that's not even what prompts it, but Chucky does say to Preston, he gets a special twinkle in his pee-pee. Interesting dialogue from Chucky. There's some weird sexual dialogue from Chucky in this series.
But I think he's a baddie, so he can be icky with that kind of shit.
And in terms of Chucky dialogue, I wanted to know if you noticed this, but every issue... he reiterates his motive because he wants revenge because he was almost back in a human body and then he wasn't. And I believe he says in every single issue, my plastic prison.
Yeah. Which film was it that he accepted? It wasn't Seed.
It was Seed of Chucky.
Oh, shit, it was, wasn't it?
That's what's weird, yeah. This is more like a sequel to Bride of Chucky. I guess that's maybe what the writer wanted to do, which it's fine, I guess.
Folk can change their minds.
Yeah. We got a lot of violence. Preston nearly dies. His wife is shooting an AK, trying to get him. Nice little reference. I don't know if you got it. You get the little dramatic irony of Jesse and Jade thinking of Preston like, oh, Preston and Shauna, they've got a good life, don't they? As they're watching the TV, there's a talk show, and they mention First Jason as the band. Do you know them?
No.
First Jason, the lead singer of First Jason, is Ari Lerman, the guy who played young bald Jason in the first film, in Friday the 13th. You know, at the end when he jumps out of the water, he went on to form a band called First Jason because he was technically the first Jason.
Amazing. That's...
nice little reference.
So he doesn't act anymore. He's just a singer in a band. He's a singer in a band instead.
Yeah, pretty much. We get a couple more references going straight into the issue 2 of Chucky, of the front cover. Chucky covered with plushies. I think we got that with Innovation Comics, isn't it?
We did. Raggedy Ann and Andy are there. There's a toy monster behind him that I recognised, but I couldn't...
My Pet Monster.
That's it. Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Definitely noticed Kermit's eyes. The top of his head is poking out as well.
Can you explain the cuddly cheese?
I don't know. Cuddly cheese, and then the monkey looked so specific. I thought it was the monkey from the poster of the movie Monkey Shines, but I checked it up and it was a different kind of monkey. We're going straight on from issue 1 of Chucky versus Shauna. Chucky calls her Sugar Tits. I believe he says multiple times in this as well. He calls multiple people Sugar Tits.
Yeah, that's definitely a word that it seems to be his big word of the...
Probably the peak of his horniness in this whole series is the double panel, and I had to put this on the Twitter, the double panel of him doing that spanking the air doggy style. He wishes to zoom in the boom boom, and then shows that he has a tiny little erection under his overalls.
Yeah.
I mean, that is in line with the Bride and Seed of Chucky humour, isn't it?
Definitely. Particularly the Seed of Chucky humour.
It's funny, you know, Seed of Chucky, it's a very horny movie, but then he's like, oh, I don't mind being... Maybe that's it, you know? He's like, oh, I don't mind being in the Chucky body because I'm Chucky the Killer Doll. And then a little while later, he was like, oh man, I'm horny. But like, I try to kill my wife. There's no other dolls I can fuck. So he's like, okay, now I want to go back to being a human again. That
is very good. Yeah, that works. Yeah, that works. That's the explanation.
And he's so horny in this that one foe that usually bests Chucky is a closed door. Chucky just smashes through this one into the basement, which Chucky has never done before. We get a lot of action here. Chucky spots a chainsaw, but instead goes for a hedge trimmer instead. And then, did you expect this? At the start of issue 2, Shauna has dragged Barry down into the basement. And Shauna is doing her best to fight off Chucky, but she's no Cassie hack. Chucky gets up to Barry with the hedge trimmer, not even on screen, kills him off panel.
Oh, it was savage, and it was brutal and badass. He's portrayed as a failure when it comes to getting revenge on Andy, but my fuck, see ya.
Yeah, this is reminiscent of the TV show, how Chucky would very surprisingly kill off a recurring character.
Also reminiscent of the TV show, in issue 1, there was an electrocution death.
Then these characters we got to know. All of issue 1, Barry's dead. In quick succession, Shauna the wife also gets brutalized off screen, hacked to death so violently her ear flies off.
That was so graphic. I was like, yes.
Yeah, it's a very, very gory comic. There was a moment where we cut over to the cop bullying Preston and gave him the good guy doll. And then he got a name. He was like, oh, hey, Murph, do you know where Preston is? Is this the main character now? How is this comic working? But he's a recurring character. He's not the main character. We got a bit of character work here with Chucky. Chucky is in a weird funk. He didn't feel satisfied after killing those random teenagers. And he thought, oh, well, he has to go after someone that has been on his kill list for a while. So he kills Preston. He still doesn't feel it. He's not enjoying it. So he finds Jade alone at home in the shower. He says Norman would be proud. He got to reference Psycho. What a monopoly on shower kills that guy has.
I don't know. I've just raised an eyebrow at that reference. I was like, really?
Yeah, I get a little moment of Chucky here where he almost kills Jade. He could kill Jade. Decides not to. He's like, this is going to be boring. I know I'm going to feel disappointed as soon as I kill her. So I'm going to decide to mentally and psychologically torture her, which is what he does in the TV show.
Yeah, I was going to say, again, similarly to Hack Slash, and goes into a psyche that is explored more in the telly series. This really does feel very, very Chucky. They've got the characterization right. And again, he's an Avenger where he kills the gang, even though it's a long time before the Chucky TV series. For me, it feels right in the Chucky TV series vibes.
We get introduced to some more cannon fodder. Jesse's group of friends. There's no way they're going to live.
No.
Chucky is peeping on Jade and her friends. Then a bunch of random alleyway gangsters come up and they call him an ugly kid. Pulls a gun on what he thinks is an ugly kid.
I know, right?
Who are these people? But we don't get time to know these people because then the very next page, Chucky murderizes these people. Just all at the same time kills these people.
Oh, yeah.
You've mentioned how Chucky has struggled to kill Andy, a child. And I wonder, is he almost too OP in this? Like, he killed 9 people in quick succession. He was in front of these people, and he killed 5 people at the same time. Has Chucky ever been this powerful?
He does kind of fluctuate in power, doesn't he?
I mean, it's a very...
yes.
It's for the sake of the comic. It's a very gory comic, and they knew it was going to be 4 issues for volume 1. Let's just get as much gore in as possible. It's cooler if Chucky gets to kill a bunch of people.
Seems legit to me.
Jesse and Jade, they got divorced, but they still kept in contact. They're now getting engaged for a second time, which is, I don't know if that's recycling Bride of Chucky. Chucky vomits from that.
Strange things have happened. My cousin divorced his wife, married someone else, and then eventually divorced that one. Married the original one again.
Yeah, so, it does happen, yeah. Weird bit of realism for these characters, I guess, isn't it? And then this is where Chucky really unveils his grand plan. He has kidnapped Jesse, and he's put his DNA all over the crime scene of Barry and Shauna, who have now been discovered by that new character, Murph. I just said, are they recycling Bride of Chucky? Now, these 2 newly engaged characters are on the run from the police again.
Yeah, you're right. I love a story that tells the story of how history repeats itself. But I also thought that the conniving was very Child's Play 3 as well.
That was a good early example of him. Bigger schemes than just one after the next, killing people. And speaking of Child's Play 3, in particular the ending, how shocked were you in issue 3 when Chucky killed a child?
Yeah, that was really grim.
Done it before. The kids shot each other, but that was Chucky doing it. And he's killed kids in the TV show and stuff, so we should expect it. But yeah, it's shocking when he kills a child.
Kids and dogs. Whatever film you're watching, if kids or dogs get killed, it's the worst, isn't it?
Yeah, even more crueler. He's putting this on Jesse. Everyone thinks Jesse is a child murderer now.
Yeah, the artwork changed, and I thought it changed for the better. I mean, it's not that I disliked the art in issue 1 and 2, but I really like the art in issue 3.
Josh Medows does the artwork for 1, 2, and part of 3. And then Pat Quinn takes over for most of 3 and 4. I went back and forth a couple times. I couldn't really notice a huge... It wasn't... I think we talked about this with Innovation, didn't we? There was a dip, wasn't there, at some point? But there wasn't any dip. In fact, you thought it improved. I couldn't really notice a difference. I thought both artists were on the same level. Good, talented artists.
Oh, yeah. Like I say, I had no problem with the first 2 issues, but I really liked the artwork from issue 3 onwards. Do you want to talk about the covers as well? Because they have, like, an arty cover, and a film still cover.
Oh yeah, they have been doing that. Yeah,
I kind of thought it was a bit boring, just using film stills.
Yeah, I understand those film stills ones. I guess those just sell, don't they?
Yeah, and also it's a cheap way of getting people to buy 2 comics instead of 1, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. For an independent publisher like this, they need not in a bad way, they do need to make money any way they can. Maybe should have done it. We could make a drinking game out of the times Chucky says plastic prison. Says it again in his recital of the motivations.
And sugar tits. Don't forget sugar tits.
And sugar tits, yeah. He's saying it to Jesse in this one, what his motivations for why he's doing this. I think in issue 2, he's just in the bush telling himself the motivations of why he's doing this. I don't know who's picking this up at like issue 3, like, oh, cool, the Chucky comic. I guess someone is. It was kind of funny. Chucky is so gleefully trying to ruin their lives. But then the pacing of this comic is so fast. Is this all taking place in like an afternoon?
Yeah.
I noticed that near the end where he's going back and forth from locations. It's like, how the fuck is he getting across town so quickly?
He's got a scooter. I don't know. I've got no answer for you, Dev.
So Jesse has been kidnapped. At this point, Jade knows that he's disappeared. Police have found the evidence. They've gone to Jade. He asked me to marry him. I accepted. Does that sound like a murder to you? Well, yeah, because that's exactly what happened in Bride of Chucky. And you were both suspected of murder, so maybe don't be bringing up those parallels.
Yeah. I think at the end, where we discover that he, again, very similar to Bride of Chucky, is actually framing both of them rather than just Jesse. That was a really nice twist. I didn't see it coming.
It's a good moment, that. Jade certainly incriminates herself because the police are at her house. She's like, Chucky's going to go after my friends if that's how he's going to ruin my life. Jumps out the window and, of course, looks like she's just fleeing the police. Did you notice this joke as well when she's talking about the other characters and one of her friends, like the business person, is pitching the pink taco?
No, I didn't. The friends are fun. They're so shallow and they're so... They are very much the slasher film trope of vacuous characters that we don't need to develop because they're going to die. There's also that really lovely kind of homage to the classic film style where you see someone who's in a very intimate and private situation, like the Psycho one or whatever, that you can see that something's going to happen to them and it takes longer than you want it to and it builds up the anticipation. They do that really well in the comics with when Miri's dancing and there's so many panels dedicated to it. It gets that really well across.
It is a great moment of suspense in that because as well you get Chucky's dialogue to himself where he's trying to think of a fun way to kill her, but also one that implicates Jesse as well. So he can't do it too violently, too obviously that it was a doll. And then eventually he does go with the kill. She's doing like a gymnastics thing on some ropes and he just drops the ropes and she apparently smashes her head so hard that her eyeball pops out.
Wow.
Gruesome little detail from the artists there. There's a little side bit here when the police are looking at the crime scene of the little boy. The guy says, most killers try to cover their tracks. This place is crawling with evidence. And then he's like picking up hairs. Well, hang on. Maybe if Chucky took Jesse's wallet and left it there, that's kind of obvious. What a dumbass would leave his wallet here. I don't think most killers, after killing someone, are picking up their hairs.
Yeah.
If you're at a murder scene and you find a hair, that's not a sign of a careless murderer.
Yeah. But it's very Chucky to over-egg something, isn't it?
And you can't really question this comic too much because at this point, Jade has a yellow Hummer in preparation. And in the back of the Hummer, she has a flamethrower. Maybe this is the weird heightened world Chucky lives in because Shauna also had a flamethrower. Everyone just has a flamethrower in this world. It's like, who was it? Elon Musk that promised everyone they was going to get a Tesla flamethrower. In this reality, everyone did get a flamethrower. She takes her other friend, to Mary's. She's already dead though. And then Jade just takes off, which again, doesn't look good. She's definitely implicated herself as on the same page as Jesse. And that's the end of issue 3 already. You know, the chase is on. It's all heading up to a good finale here. You've got Mary and the other friend. Who is it?
Mary's dead.
Mary's dead. There's another friend. There's 3 friends in total. Mary's dead. And you get these 2 friends. They're together with the police. They're doing the phone call thing where they're trying to get Jade back. But she's like, no. I got to get Chucky. I know it sounds crazy, but I got to get him. Similar to Preston's death, similar to a bunch of these deaths, you don't expect Chucky to kill with such wild abandon here.
I don't think it matters. I kind of like this badass Chucky more than inept Chucky because there is still the right character stuff of, him getting overzealous, and I don't have an issue with it, I don't think.
Yeah, you can't do a full fight, can you? Otherwise, they'd all be super long comics, wouldn't they? You gotta just show him kill people quickly, because that's what people want. And yeah, Chucky does show up. He does the same thing that he does in Hack Slash Fist. Chucky, he gets killed someone with a nail gun, kills all of these cops in the room with a nail gun. Quite a sneaky kill here when the two women go to the garage to escape. They find the car's already on and the room is filling with carbon monoxide, and then Chucky blocks the door. A real sneaky kill there from Chucky.
Yeah. This issue was 48 pages. Why didn't you just have 5 issues? Wouldn't you have made more money from 5 issues? I don't know.
We said all these issues would be bumper issues if we did the story, but yeah, it's a lot of action in this. We get more of Murph chasing up on Jesse and Jade while the stress is getting to him because his hair color has changed now.
Sure.
He has grey hair and he had like red hair in the first issue. They have an interview with some kid. Who was the kid? I can't remember the exact relation, but they have a kid who is with Jade, and he describes how he saw Jesse and Jade get it on in issue 1, and with Jade's fingers.
Yes, which exonerates them.
Jade's fingies bouncing.
It's a perfect alibi.
Chucky's plan starts to fall apart, where random stoners find Jesse has been tied up and tortured, in quotes, all sore foreign shit. Gotta know exactly when this comic was written.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? If it was a Saw, they just referenced Saw, but it's Saw 4.
That's how people reference movies. Wait, the most recent sequel. What did you think about this? I know it's an extended issue and there's a lot going on, but how did you feel about not only Jesse being rescued, but Chucky's whole plan collapsing because of random characters who are never seen again?
Whilst that was a weakness, I agree. I think the strength of this is how well depicted and how well explored Jesse and Jade are. They have become more badass like Andy did. They have such trauma that she's essentially become a prepper. And that's what saves her at the end, because she prepared. I think it gets a lot right, even in this weird-ass issue 4, which is plot-wise a little bit convoluted.
But it's not so much plot-wise. I guess it's more pacing-wise. It's insane.
Yeah.
Jade is in jail. Chucky visits her. He's immediately at the hospital. So I don't know if they're just next door to each other, but he's immediately in the hospital. He kills the guard, an excessive amount of blood against a lot of very gory stuff here. He tries to kill Jesse, who is in the hospital bed, but then Chucky gets into a fight with the nurse. Did you notice the weird dialogue of this nurse?
No.
Pretty sure this nurse was meant to be black and for some reason was coloured white. I don't know where this is taking place because her dialogue is nothing like everyone else's dialogue. Because she specifically says, "Oh my sweet Jesus, when that white boy said he was stalked by a talking doll, I said to myself, he crazy. Demon be gone. We ain't having the devil's work in these holes, no siree."
Oh, yeah.
Really weird.
I'm kind of glad the character wasn't black because that's a bit yucky.
Yeah, as a white character, I guess that's like, I don't know, like Cajun? They're from like the South? I guess. It's weird because no one else speaks like that, so she just happens to be from the South. But it was more action. She hits him with a bedpan so hard that Chucky smashes through a door.
Good.
But then, of course, he kills her in a crazy moment, something we've always been wondering would happen with TV show. After he murders the nurse, the police come in, and they're all just like, "Oh, there's Chucky." Like, they do sort of spot Chucky, and he escapes. And now everyone is on the same page. Oh, yeah, we got to get Chucky. Which is kind of unexpected in these stories.
I think it's actually quite a nice little touch that Preston went through awful bullying because of what he saw. And then eventually, after his death, he's proved right. That dramatic irony is cruel, and I love it.
Murphy does become a face here. He becomes a good guy. He has gotten Jade out of prison, again, because of like a little boy story that he saw them having sex, and that was enough to get her out of jail. You do get that real cruel moment of Murph visiting Jade in a waiting room. "Don't worry, Jade. We all know Chucky's real, and we're going to get him." And then Chucky shows up and just kills him.
Which is great.
Just the heightened craziness of it all. Jade full-on runs out of the main lobby of the police station, and Chucky just runs after her in front of everyone, just yelling how he's going to kill her. And everyone just stares at them like, huh? Again, it's a weird moment because it's like, not only is she running out of the police station, she then steals a car, and then seconds later crashes that, and then steals a bike. Chucky is all the while trying to kill her, and like none of the police came out after them. just to see what was going on.
Yeah, that is weird.
I do like, though, the little joke of Chucky looking at the kid's tricycle. Oh no, he's gonna ride that. But then no, he gets the little motorized scooter instead.
Yeah, this is clearly written by someone who knows and loves Chucky because he uses the "I always come back" thing.
So yeah, as you said, we got the prepper thing here. Jade bought a house with a nuclear bunker underneath it. We're going full Halloween 2018, maybe. David Gordon Green and Danny McBride read this comic and stole that. And yeah, we got the big fight between Jade and Chucky. Chucky, we've already talked about his power level, is now getting his ass kicked by a single person after killing about 30 people in these 4 issues.
The fact that the character development of people that have been traumatized by Chucky makes them more badass as a consistent thing. I like that. Yeah, that holds up.
I agree with you here. I definitely agree with you here in terms of the art. I really like the artwork down here. It's just all red and the shadows are black. Really cool artwork there. Chucky finds a grenade that goes off and doesn't seem to damage anyone. This bunker just keeps on going. Jade goes through several doors, luring Chucky down deeper. But then this is the big finale. Chucky is unknowingly lured into a Saw 4 trap, as the room is actually a giant oven, which cooks him alive. Unfortunately, we don't really see a gratifying, horrifying melt. No. But I guess we have to imagine it.
I think that would have probably benefited from a melty face.
Yeah, they could have just drawn, traced a still from Child's Play 2. Where he's all melted. And then Jade kind of comes out, greets the police officers who have arrived on the scene. Not sure why she had to dress up as Black Widow for that whole showdown.
Wow.
We get a little twist setting up Volume 2. The smoke from the house of the burning room comes out into the sky, and like Return of the Living Dead, the smoke wanders over a nearby dumping ground, which happens to have a bunch of good guy dolls in it, and then they all start laughing maniacally.
Yeah, it's the multiple doll idea again, isn't it?
Yeah, and fun ones here, variants. Like a little glam rock Chucky, the sci-fi Mega Man Chucky, and then Chucky that looks just like Nick Fury. He has like stubble, an eye patch, and a cigar.
Yeah.
As I say, those would have been fun Chuckies. But unfortunately, we never did get a Volume 2.
No, I did look up the Volume 2.
I've got the
And it sounded weird. It was about a reality TV series at the Play Pals factory with a bunch of completely new characters who were, from what I could see, fundamentally unlikable. I would obviously want to read that for completionist's sake, but the fact that it's obviously an incomplete story and... Nah.
Yeah, I have the whole summary here. I don't know if I'll read it, because it's like a full page. If you go online, if you just look up Chucky Volume 2, Issue 1, it's on the wiki. You can find the full summary of the comic, and it is just as the synopsis you read. I would have liked to read maybe the dialogue and stuff. It's not even written by Polito or Seeley. It's a new writer, Jason M. Burns. Even from the synopsis, we don't really get an idea of what this Chucky sounds like. If he sounds the same, if he sounds unique. But then, I don't know, we wouldn't have even got his complete Chucky anyway.
No.
We've said Issue 1 did come out, but then they never made the following 3 or however many issues.
But yeah, I kind of want more Chucky comics, because I really enjoyed these, and I really enjoyed the first ones as well.
Yeah, definitely. These were fun comics. Innovation comics were fun. These were fun. These are, way more modern in the mid-2000s. I think they definitely show that a modern Chucky comic would work. Crossovers, you can have fun crossovers, and then you can also have a fun ongoing just Chucky doing his thing.
I think so.
Would it be in canon with the Chucky TV show?
I don't think this is.
No, I don't mean this. I mean, if they did a new comic now, would it be like an addendum to the TV show, or would it be its own thing, its own canon?
That does seem to be the fashion. You get like spin-off novels and comics for stuff like Star Trek Picard did it, and they were very good actually. So I'd love to see like a limited series tie-in.
That would be more difficult because Mancini at the moment does a really good job at tying everything together,
True.
Season 1 and 2 ties together really well. Characters coming back, the timeline, everything all ties together tightly. So I don't know how much room it leaves. It's not like, as you say, Picard, where there's long stretches of the whole universe where anything could happen.
True.
But its own canon, its own separate canon, a Chucky comic. I'd be up for it. That could be cool. I think that's it, really. I think we've covered everything for DDP Devil's Due Publishing. Wrap up. I really hope you enjoyed us looking at the comics. We're going to be reading some more words next time. Depends on, actually, if we just listen to the audiobook. We might not read any words. But we'll be ingesting a lot more words because we'll be looking at The Dollhouse Murders by Betty Wren Wright, a novel.
Yeah, well, it was directly referenced in Living with Chucky as the inspiration for
yes,
Chucky.
that was the connection. Yeah, I knew you picked it for a reason.
It's actually quite a heavy link rather than just Killer Dolls on this one.
Fantastic.
We thought we'd nudge it up the list because it's an interesting one, and I like audiobooks.
Yeah, you did send me. There's an audiobook, so
it's on Audible. Yeah, so everyone can listen to that.
So that'll be next time. But until then, we've been Dev and Mark. You can find me at Absolute Travesty on Twitter. However long that lasts. I'm not going anywhere else. I'm not joining fucking threads or anything like that. I can't be asked at this point in my life. I'm not even doing much on Twitter anyway, so that's fine. Mark, I know you have other things going on. Where can they find you?
At Mark Adams HC on Twitter, Instagram, and I'm not going to be joining threads either. I have joined it, but I can't be asked with it.
Yeah. You can find the show at CHUCKYVISION on Twitter. Do give a follow. Occasionally we will do listener polls, what you guys want to listen to next, so always keep an eye out for that. This has been another episode of Chucky Vision. Wanna play?
Sprunk.
Chucky Vision is a podcast brought to you by the We Made This Network. Follow us on Twitter at Chucky Vision. Follow the network on Twitter at WMT_network. Our website is WeMadeThisNetwork.com. The logo was designed by Carl Bryan, and the theme tune composed by Dark Fantasy Studios. Wanna play?
Are you a fan of the Marvel Universe?
Can you tell your Kang from your Doctor Doom?
Well, if so, boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Podcast 616 is the We Made This Network's long-running Marvel podcast, and it's under new management.
We're your hosts, Ashley Thomas
and Hugh McStay.
And together, we are going to lead you every step of the way through the Marvel Cinematic Universe's upcoming multiverse saga.
Everything from She-Hulk to Avengers Secret Wars will be covered on the podcast in the kind of detail that would make a Wikipedia article blush.
We're going to have some detours into the wider Marvel world where we'll look at non-MCU projects dating all the way back to Marvel's origins in the groovy, funky 60s, and all the way up to the birth of the greatest franchise in cinema history.
And we'll be joined on our adventure by a roll call of guests so impressively knowledgeable that they'll make the Avengers themselves look clueless by comparison.
So if you like your opinions sharper than Wolverine's claws,
or takes hotter than the Human Torch's underpants,
then get Podcast 616 in your ears as a matter of urgency.
You'll love it 3000.
Podcast 616. Disassemble.